This channel has always had one fundamental foundation to it, whether I was visiting railways or walking on old track beds looking at the history, or climbing inside abandoned buildings to try and speak to the past. It's always been about history and mystery. I love history. It's what builds us as a nation, as a culture. Without that, we are nothing and we can't learn anything. And I love picking up an old book, looking at old photographs and reading stories of what's happened in the past, whether it's connected to the railways or to an abandoned manor somewhere in Derbyshire. Either way, I've always got that thirst to explore and find out about the hidden shadows of the past. Where you live is so rich in history, and as you walk around the streets you can see evidence of such. Them sort of ventures will still carry on, but something that I've always wanted to do was to delve a little bit deeper into the history of my town in Blackpool and find out a few more little things, golden pieces of information that we all didn't know, and look at old photographs and compare them to where they've been taken on maps, and to see the difference today of what it was like way back then. And with the advent of AI, I'm able to bring some of these old photographs back to life. But as with any journey, I've got to choose a location, I've got to choose a time to start from, and then obviously choose the stories and the content to deliver to you. And for as much as I'd love to delve straight into the Winter Gardens or Blackpool Tower, or maybe the area where I was brought up, it would be wrong. I'd have to go way back in time to a period where Blackpool didn't exist. So cast your mind back. Before the vibrant attractions and iconic landmarks of Blackpool, the region was predominantly a forested area, bordered by the River Wyre to the north and to the River Ribble further south. So approximately 15,000 years ago, when the first settlers roamed these woods, the River Ribble had tributaries that flowed towards Skippole near Poulton-le-Fylde, linking it to the River Wyre. Much of what is now Lytham and St Anne's lay submerged under tidal waters, while the northern expanse from Fleetwood to Clevedley's was characterised by marshy tidal lands, making Blackpool somewhat of an island. And the cliffs of Blackpool extended far beyond their current reach today, supported by native stones that laid as the ground framework that eventually became our modern features in Bispam, such as Pennystone and Red Bank. There's roads named after these stones that you can still find now at low tide. Just picture this, you're standing at the cliffs there just before Bispam, and the land went further out. Some say it went out miles, some say you could even walk at one point to the Isle of Man before they filled and Doggerland disappeared. And that's what happened here in Blackpool. In fact, when Blackpool started to be born, there was structures and buildings that were on these lands, like the original Uncle Tom's cabin. But over time, the cliffs fell away, they eroded and disappeared, leaving nothing but behind a switchback railway and a little bit of a dirt path track. Eventually, Uncle Tom's cabin was built further inland, to when Blackpool was obviously starting to popularise itself and industrialise itself and get even bigger and better, and they decided that they'd put in the sea defences that are there today. Meanwhile, areas like Blackpool South, St Anne's and Lytham were dominated now by sand dunes with lush boundaries of oak trees, native trees separating the land from the seas. The Paleolithic area of the UK, spanning from around 3.3 million years ago to approximately 11,500 years ago, was a time of rich biodiversity, with evidence of early human presence, including footprints in Norfolk, indicating Homo ancestors inhabited the Isles over 800,000 years ago, accompanied by primitive stone tools. These early humans primarily hunted large mammals such as elk and wild horses or red deers, thriving in the open grasslands and forests. In fact, in 1970, a 13,500-year-old elk skeleton was discovered near Blackpool Old Road, bearing a barbed bone point likely from a spear, providing the first definitive proof of human habitation on the Fylde. Trees like yew, hazel, birch and willow have been uncovered in peak locations such as Marton Moss and near the Hilton Hotel site, going back 3,000 years. More evidence points to the first residents on the Fylde go back 14,000 years ago.
As regards the Setantais and the previous times before that, information is a little bit weak. I mean, we can go back even further in time if we could possibly do that by looking at any records, but not really many records exist. But that's the state of play as regards human habitation here on the Fylde coast. Bear in mind, it wouldn't have looked anything like it does to now. Forget the houses, forget everything else, but as regards the scale of the land, the way it all protrudes itself around, the way it's all lying around, is nothing like it was today. Far from it indeed. A lot of the land has been claimed by farms and humans, especially over the past sort of 500 years. But certainly before that, a lot of areas like the Rossall and Fleetwood and Lytham and St Anne's was very much underwater. It was tidal water. But then we've claimed the land, we've built it further out, and of course the sand deposits that happen in the South Fylde has also helped create more land as well. So it doesn't look anything like it does now compared to then.
Ptolemy, who mentioned a local called Portus Centurium, translating to the port of the Setantai. This port is thought to have been situated along Britain's western coast, with potential sites like Skipool, Fleetwood and the River Wyre's mouth. However, its precise location remains elusive, with some experts proposing that it may have been submerged over time.
Sea trading took place for many years, even before the Romans, but it's the Romans that sort of coined this area with sea trade, and this is Skipool, which is near Fylde, not far from Blackpool, and all this area used to be where sea trading occurred. So many textiles and minerals and all sorts of barley and things that used to come here from all over the place came through here. The Romans knew it was a trading post, hence why they set themselves up in Kirkham not far and then brought themselves through Fylde to come to Skipool. This was the first port of the area that goes way back in time, even when they were classed as a Setantai by Ptolemy, who was the Greco-Egyptian sort of author that mapped many areas around the world.
And the sea trading continued even when the Vikings got involved. In fact, Skipool is thought to have originated from the Old Norse word skip, meaning ship, combined with the Old English pull or poll, referring to a slow-moving stream.
More recently, archaeologists and historians are definitely classing this area as a very important trading hub for the Fylde coast, and even just over the River Wyre on the opposite bank, they claim that there could have been a little bit of a port area there as the River Wyre brings itself in across in that direction. And then the port became even more popular and busy around the Middle Ages. One report saying here the 16th century, it became a bustling centre for maritime trade up until the 18th century, with imports of flax from Ireland, timbers from North America and coal from Preston. Remarkably, by the mid-1700s, the shipping volume at Skipool and Wolseley Creek surpassed that of the port of Liverpool, earning the title the Little Metropolis of the Fylde in 1837.
Additionally, Skipool contributed to shipbuilding, producing fine vessels for affluent mill owners and even for Peter the Great of Russia. The port's significance was bolstered by the draining of Marton Moss in 1731 that improved rivers' accessibility. However, the arrival of railways in Fleetwood in 1840 marked the beginning of Skipool's decline as a major port, leading to a gradual shift of trade to the newer Fleetwood port, and by the 1840s Skipool had largely ceased its operations as a significant trading hub, although archaeological discoveries, including Roman coins from emperors like Trajan and Hadrian, indicate a rich historical presence in the area. Other areas included a fort located at Dowbridge in Kirkham, with a significant Iron Age site at Bourne Hill in Thornton Cleveleys that exhibits evidence of Roman occupation. Furthermore, a samine ware, a type of Roman tableware used between AD 43 and 410, was discovered in Bispam, reinforcing the notion of Roman activity. Now, after the Roman period, the area around Blackpool remained sparsely populated, with the main centres being in Poulton and Bispam.
Now, so this is important, you'll like this. The first recorded mention of Blackpool appears in 1602, when a child christened was recorded in the register of Bispam Parish Church, referring to a couple residing on the bank
Aye, a blessing by this water.
of the Blackpool, an area somewhere near Vauxhall or Manchester Square, where it's now pretty much hidden. A tragedy, if you ask me. It's fed from what's known as Spen Dyke. Now that runs from Martin Mere along Horside Lane under Fox Brothers Funeral Directors via Spen Dyke Corner and off towards Waterloo Road, before it pooled on these banks in the peaty lands to eventually run off into the Irish Sea, where today you'll find United Utilities wastewater pumping station. I know, it is a tragedy. The area that was created is now hidden by the modern residents and businesses holders of our landscape, and was previously shaped by natural events such as a major sea inundation in 1532 that swept inland for nearly 2 miles, destroying Waddenthorpe, and another in 1555 that destroyed Singletonthorpe and the village of Kilmagrove. By the 18th century, the practice of sea bathing for health became fashionable among the wealthy, which marked the beginning of Blackpool's growth as a sea resort. However, people were coming here before Blackpool was coined, before it was named, and mainly coming from Lancashire. And they came along what was the old Roman path, all the way up to Preston towards Kirkham, but there wasn't really a decent enough path to get to Blackpool, so they had to get off their horses and their carts and walk the rest of the way. And because people were coming here, as it was known to be healthy for you to bathe in the sea waters and even drink the sea water, yes, I know, that it attracted more and more people from further afield. So the first people that were coming here, it was noted that they came from a town in Lancashire called Padiham, and the locals round here used to nickname them the Padjammers. I know, it's amazing, I love this. And the reason being, because so many people wanted to come here at one point, they used to jam them in on these horse and carts. And because we're from Padiham, they were called Padjammers. Now, as you know, with a lot of places around the country, with the advent of the railways that happened in the 19th century, it was a pivotal factor for creating what we have now all across the land, and especially way back then. And this area was no stranger to the advent of the railways arriving, bringing people and obviously materials. Now, it's important to remember that Fleetwood was here before Blackpool, and the railway line that came from Preston came to Fleetwood. There was no railways in Blackpool at the time. That'll appear, the railways will appear in another video later on, but fundamentally Fleetwood had the railway first before Blackpool did. And as the development happened, it led to a significant population increase and the construction of major attractions to bring more people in and more tourists in, like the piers, like the winter gardens, and of course we can't miss Blackpool Tower. Now, before I delve into the most notorious parts of the town as a seaside attraction, I want to unveil a little deeper into the inundation that destroyed our ancient dwellings, the old shape of the coastline that's left us with the towns as the famous rocks that we all talk about, with road names named after. But this is where I leave it for now, because there's so much to cover, and this is the beginning of Blackpool, before Blackpool. And as these episodes scroll out, then I'm going to bring more and more information, nuggets of information you didn't even know that I've managed to find. I've even shocked and surprised myself over time. I am looking very much forward to making some more episodes as time goes on, but we're going to leave it there for now, because it's going to get deep and it's going to get fantastically amazing. So please do the honor, like and subscribe, and make sure you stay tuned for episode 2, where we are at the beginning, the advent, the cusp of Blackpool being born.